Hey guys, this is Shelly Jacobs with my buddy Bo, who's having a nap here. I'm using him as my security blanket because I'm trying to get better at making these videos, but it's not the easiest thing for me to do. So bear with me as I try to tell you more about the worldwide we and specifically more about myself. When I put up the last video, it got a little bit of traction, and I ended up getting a message from a man who runs a nonprofit, and he said basically that he didn't understand who I was and what I was trying to do. So tell us more about you and what you want from us, is what he said. So I'm going to hopefully do that in this video. So tell you more about me. I am an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur since I was a kid entrepreneur. I used to sell seeds and lend money and get interest for lending money. I got into the corporate world pretty young. I used to manage a Halloween shop when I was 18. I was made a manager. That was kind of silly because everybody that was working for me was probably 6 to 8 years older than me, so there was a little bit of resentment there. I got accepted to NYU computer science. I started going to school and decided that I really wanted to be in the working world and not in school. And so I left there and I worked as an auditing accountant for a big company called Biederman Industries. They don't exist anymore, but back then they used to make clothing for a lot of the big designers: Ralph Lauren, Calvin Klein, Yves Saint Laurent, a bunch of others. And my job was to audit um, the accounts payable. And so I got the fun of trying to find the mistakes and then get the backup paperwork to show when the company hadn't gotten what they'd pay for. And I think my biggest fine was $1.6 million. There was a $1.6 million discrepancy. I think it was for socks. They said they shipped this many, but we didn't actually receive them. So I sort of have this history of looking for mistakes and solving problems. I went from Biederman Industries into the real estate world, and I dipped my toe in that only for about 2 years, and then decided that was not for me. And I got into the display world at that point. And having done none of it, I got myself a job with Macy's and basically just talked myself into a position that wasn't even open, with my enthusiasm. And they basically hired me because I was super enthusiastic and wanted a job doing display work. And from Macy's, I got hired away by Ralph Lauren and was what they call a creative service director for them. And I worked in their factory store division, their outlet malls. And so basically for them, I created displays. I was responsible to come up with the idea, buy all the props, and then execute them in the stores. And so I traveled all over the South to different stores and worked for them. And basically, I kind of got worn to a nub in less than 3 years. Um, I worked at least 80 hours a week, plus I was flying around all the time and mostly to smaller towns. So I probably had another at least 10 to 15 hours or more in travel time. And so I basically had no life besides work. And so in less than 3 years, I decided that this was not for me. Plus, I was not feeling very appreciated by the company at that point either. Interestingly, I got an apology email from my manager last year. And he basically apologized for treating me so poorly that many years ago, which was pretty incredible. I give him a lot of credit for sending me that. That was pretty amazing. But anyway, I left Ralph Lauren and I was focused on becoming self-employed. And because I had this creative experience, I was well suited for being what they call a stylist, a photo stylist. And so I worked as a photo stylist, both in print and for TV commercials. And that's a pretty erratic um, uh, thing to do. It's a feast and famine. You get paid well when you're working, but you could have weeks and weeks where you don't get paid. And so I had to just kind of do whatever I needed to make money. And so I got into some furniture design and, God, I can't even remember all the things I've done. I've painted houses inside and out. I've done little small, I started out doing small construction stuff because I grew up a next door neighbor who I was very close to and I thought of as like an uncle or a second dad. He was a builder and I hung out with him a lot and learned a lot about building. And so I did some odd jobs, projects in construction. And then I got the bright idea, to open a retail store that sold flowers and art. So it was a full service florist and an art gallery. And I did that for about 7 years. And that was very challenging. I learned a whole lot about many different things. At its pinnacle point, I had 5 employees. I like to think that we did some good in the community. I had a very loyal following. My patrons, my customers were very supportive, and I had a good time with that. But again, I was working way too much and not having much of a life outside of work. And then I was in a crazy accident that almost killed me. And as happens to many people that have a brush with death, I rethought what my existence looked like, and I decided that being that entrenched in work again was not so terrific. And so I ended up selling out of that business and becoming a bit of a leaf in the wind for a while. I did a bunch of traveling. I did projects that would pay me enough to have money to travel. And I was kind of rootless there for a while. And then I landed, so that a lot of that was in Alabama, down in Birmingham. I'm from New Jersey. I don't know if you can tell my accent, but the styling work that I did in the retail business that I had, they were in Birmingham, Alabama. And I was called back down to Alabama to work on a project that to me was one of my favorites, even though it didn't go very far. It was one of my favorite things that I've done in my working life. And I was working with the photographs taken by Spider Martin, James Martin, who was he was a photojournalist for the Birmingham News back during the time that the civil rights movement was happening. And he took photographs of the movement from the days that before the march, when the march was coming into being. He had photographs that he took through all the organizing of the march, both, when it first tried to happen and there was all the violent reaction to it, and then when it did happen, and then he kept taking pictures after the march, and he became George Wallace's campaign photographer, so he had those photographs too. But what I worked on was trying to use these photographs that these images that Spider took, that were not really seen by the public. I think about 100 or 150 of his images had been used by different news outlets when all that stuff was happening. But then he had 2,600 plus images that were basically sitting in a vault unseen. And so I worked to pull out, I think we had 48 images that we culled out of all those that showed sort of the kernel of what the movement, what happened during the movement. And we put together this exhibit that was going to travel the world. and the aim of it was to help enlighten people, to show, these are things that have happened. And we were hoping that Alabama could say, we're not afraid of our past. These things happen and we're learning from it. And we got traction. We got some exhibits out there, but it didn't go as far as I wanted it to, or many others wanted it to. It kind of got sidelined, basically. But to me, that was one of the best things I've worked on, because to me, that project was going to help humanity wake up and be better. So from that, I went to a bunch of different stuff. I ended up in the construction business, sort of full on. And then I got into working with Southern Business and Development, first as a consultant to them, and I've consulted other small businesses. But from the consulting role, I ended up being a project manager for them, and I still, they're one of my clients currently. I am their main editor for their real-time news site, the randallreport.com, which focuses on mainly economic development news, both, so that's business news and political news as it relates to development. And so I've had a lot of exposure to stories about things happening or not happening in the world. And I think that's partly what informs me for this project. Um, so because I have this work with them, I also have some free time. And so that when this idea came to me 3 years ago, after I pushed it away for a while and then finally shared it with some friends who were like, oh my God, Shelly, you have to do that. We have to make this happen. I finally decided to try to get this thing off the ground. And so I filed paperwork to first make an organization and then have that organization be recognized as a 501c3. And so we have that status. We are 501c3. And we have a very rudimentary website that's been built. It doesn't do, it's the tip of the iceberg, basically, for what the platform is going to do when it gets fully built out. But it's always been my belief that one of the biggest things we need to do is just get buy-in from a lot of people. Just have a lot of people make this agreement that humanity can do better together, that we can create a more harmonious existence with each other and with everything else that exists on the planet. And when I used to talk about this in the early days, I would talk to just about anybody that I struck up a conversation with. If I talk long enough, then I would go, hey, can I tell you about this idea? And I would tell them. And young and old, no matter what color or what their belief system, people resonated with this idea that we could do better together, that we could unite ourselves and make agreements to be more harmonious. So that is what the Worldwide We aims to do. That's the vision. And I know this is silly, but I never really thought about this project as being a vision until recently. And having several discussions with a bunch of different people in the last couple of months, it finally, came to light that this is a vision that actually I've been holding for a long time. And I don't think that it's unique to me at all. I think that a lot of people hold this vision. And so to me, we need to make this vision come into being. That's what this project is all about. And so because I have this experience of project managing all sorts of different things, I have this belief that this project, it needs to be multi-pronged, should be multi-pronged, will be multi-pronged. And that's where it starts to get harder to talk about. Specifically, what does that mean? What does it look like? Well, I think it's going to look like, I don't think I can say exactly what it looks like. I can tell you the beginnings of it, but I think it needs to unfold. I think that we need to understand that this is going to be a collaborative effort on the part of a large group of people. It's going to start out with a smaller group of us trying to get it going, and then it's going to unfold into a much bigger thing that maybe we can't really see exactly what it looks like right now. So I know people don't like that sort of, non-concrete kind of talk. So I will be a little more specific and say, to me, one of the first things we have to do is agree on some very simple things that we know are necessities to our very existence. And I think these are ones that we can tackle kind of immediately because they're already being worked on. So we know that our bodies need water and air. There's nothing to talk about that. Like, those are the simple facts, is that we both need air and water to survive. And we also know that when the water or the air is dirty, contaminated in any way, that we become unhealthy and we don't live as long. So these to me are very fundamental truths that we can establish with each other and say we need clean air and we need clean water. And the great news is that there are millions of people working already on how we can have clean water and clean air. And so if we can form a united group that says, we're going to get behind these people that are already working, we can help exponentiate their work and get it into being more broadly and more quickly. So those to me are sort of the beginning marching points if we're going to focus on specific real world things, that we focus on those. I think as a we're going to have to focus on lots of different things. And there's no reason we can't do them at the same time if we have enough coalitions to take them on. And that's the other thing that I want you to take away here, is that the we intends to build coalitions that will work on things at a higher level than what they're doing already. And so how we're going to do that is we're going to gather these groups that are already working on things. And we have lots of information that's been collected about different groups that focus on different things. And we have ideas about how to unite them with other groups and to give them this grassroots push so that we can move in a lot of different directions at the same time and start to fix things more quickly. So I hope that that helps you understand a little more about why I'm bothering to spend my money and my time on the Worldwide We. And I hope that it motivates you to come on board, be part of the Worldwide We. Very specifically right now, we need help with the website. The worldwidewwe.org is a simple page. It doesn't do near what it's supposed to, and we need help. So if you are a website person and want to collaborate and help us fix that, we would love to have the help. So the worldwidewwe.org, and then we have a Facebook page, the Worldwide We. So please just join us and help us unite and help spread the word. Use your social media platform. Use any means you have to help share the word and get people to get excited about becoming part of the Worldwide We. So I'm going to leave it there for now. I hope this helps answer the question. Sir, I thank you for bringing that to my attention, and I hope this video helps to answer some of that. If it hasn't, write me again. And if somebody else wants to say, give me some helpful hints, I appreciate that. So I hope you guys have a great day. This is Shelly Jacobs for the Worldwide We, and I will be back again and make another video hopefully soon. Take care. Bye.